Hello and welcome back to Communicable, the podcast brought to you by CMI Communications, ESCMID's open access journal covering infectious diseases and clinical microbiology. My name is Angela Huttner, and I am editor-in-chief of CMI Comms and an infectious diseases physician at the Geneva University Hospital in Switzerland. I'm joined by my co-host, Annie Joseph, clinical microbiologist at Nottingham University Hospital's NHS Trust in the UK and associate editor at CMI Comms.
Hi, Angela. Great to be here again.
Hi, Annie. For this last episode of the year, we are bringing you Katie's picks. Katie Hostettler-Oi hails from the United States, but did her PhD work in the field of antimicrobial drug discovery and development here in Switzerland at the University of Zurich. She joined ESCMID in 2024 and is now the managing editor of CMI Communications and the producer of Communicable. Most of you have never heard her voice, but she is the engine behind this podcast. She knows each of this year's episodes very well, having done the sound editing and other production work for all of them. So we thought you should hear from her what she thinks. We're going to ask her to give us her top picks of the year. And afterwards, you'll hear some end-of-year messages from Katie and from all of the editors here at CMI Comms. Katie, it's a great pleasure to have you here in front of the microphone today.
Hi, Angela. Hi, Annie. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so Katie's picked 5 episodes that she really wanted to highlight from Communicable's year in 2025. So, Katie, do you want to kick off? What's the first episode you want to tell us about?
Okay, top 5 was really hard to get to, I have to say, but I still managed, and I also have some shout outs, no special order. I'll kick things off with episode 21 on FMT, fecal microbiota transplant. I really enjoyed this one. Angela, you hosted with Mark, and we had 2 really nice guests, Maria from Frankfurt and Dimitri from Minnesota. As someone who was studying microbiology in the master's and the PhD in Zurich, this topic somehow came up a lot. I also read about it like on BBC, wondering if this is like a miracle pill. And then to actually have 2 experts come in on Communicable, super fascinating. I also really loved their dynamic. They were both so humble somehow, and they just wanted to talk about their research. And Dimitri's clinical trials actually, quote unquote, failed or was negative. And his ability to elaborate and just discuss it so clearly and then have Maria comment on it, I just found this really fascinating.
I'm so glad. Yeah. I do remember there was a moment where I was like, oh no, because I was worried that the 2 guests essentially had different views at a certain point. And I don't think they had ever had the chance to talk directly with each other until this very recording. And I remember thinking, how is this going to go? One is basically saying, he's losing his faith in this. And the other one is doing like a lot of work on this. But I thought they were great. They were very respectful of one another. I felt like, okay, this is how it should be. We should be allowed to have disagreements and we should be allowed to discuss them. It's intellectual. It's not emotional. And I felt like, okay, this is going to work.
I found the episode really humbling just to listen to Dimitri talk about his trial and how it hadn't worked and how they'd invested in it like emotionally as well. I thought that was really nice. And then to be able to just reflect on it and be like, it wasn't the result we hoped for, but the science is the science and we have to kind of accept the results for what it is. And FMT as well, it's one of those things, isn't it, where people read about it outside of medicine and they're like, what? You're doing what to people? So it's got that kind of universal appeal of like, oh my God, is this really what we do in medicine to people?
Thanks for bringing that one back because that was early in the year and there have been so many episodes since.
I don't know if other people have this, but they remember where they are when they listen to a certain podcast episode. And I remember I was watching my youngest at a jiu-jitsu competition whilst I had my headphones in. So it was really noisy, but I had these noise cancelling headphones and I was listening to this like FMT episode that had just dropped on a Monday, and I was watching all these 7-year-olds absolutely kick the hell out of each other doing jiu-jitsu. And so now when I think about that episode, I'm like, feel like it's jiu-jitsu that like brings back that's my memory so now of it.
Interesting. I do that too, by the way, sports mornings on Saturdays.
Valuable podcasting time, that. Kids' activities, totally. Sports, put the headphones in.
Oh, great. Okay, Katie, next,
both of you will also be very familiar, was episode 22 and 23. We did International Women's Day in 2 parts. And this was a really heartfelt, sensitive, but very topical episode, I think, generally showcasing that We at the Journal want to promote an inclusive environment. And it was just nice to hear that the group of editors acknowledge that perhaps men and women, as well as other marginalized communities, don't have the same starting point in terms of career development.
Yeah, I remember being surprised by some of the conclusions of our male editors. So impressed and really surprised. I would love to hear Annie's take on that episode because we did something potentially really unfair to Annie. That was her very first time, right? Annie being uncommunicable.
You used to be like under the bus for that one. No,
completely. And then the bus just kept like driving back and forth over
rolling
you, right?
over me several times.
Yeah.
No,
yeah. How did that go?
I mean, I think I was appointed, and then that was the very first thing I did. I don't think I'd even handled any articles or anything. You were just like, "Oh no, it'd be great. We need you have views, Annie, on this. We need to get you on this episode."
Well, let everyone know this is actually optional. I don't think I forced you. Right? There's no actual mechanism to enforce anything.
No, I was definitely nervous. And I think as well, because I hadn't met all the editors before, I knew you and I'd met Erin as well before, but I hadn't actually met the men. So I was kind of going into the unknown a little bit. Sharing our stories and things. But honestly, I think that really doing that episode kind of bonded us and was a really good start to joining the CMI Comms team, because I felt like we'd just gone straight in with difficult topics up front. First time they've met me, we're like, so how do you tackle microaggressions in your workplace, Thomas? You know, it was just straight to the point. And then after that, it's been really easy and relaxed with them all, with everyone at the Journal. But yeah, I think it definitely broke the ice.
Oh, that's for sure. Yeah, I guess that's one really good way of looking at it. Like, we threw you into the deep end and everything afterwards is super easy, right?
Yeah, but I do think, Katie, what you were saying, topical, I mean, it is topical, isn't it? Feminism, I guess, in that more than half the world is women. But I think I would quite like to keep that as something that Communicable does mark some of these important events that happen in the calendar. It's not just one day, is it? And we do have an episode planned around International Women's Day along a similar theme this year, 2026, nearly. So that will be good to keep that up. And that's going to be a great episode as well.
I am looking forward to that one. You've got some very cool guests coming up on that one. I have to tell you guys one little story about the recording of that Women and Men episode that I don't think I've ever told either of you. And I don't know if Katie was onto it when she was editing the recording. So this is what happened. I was actually in New York recording that episode because my daughters really wanted to go to New York. This was our February holidays. So we went and we were in a hotel, and there's nowhere to record a podcast when you're sharing a small New York hotel room with two teenage girls. So I had done my due diligence. I had scouted a quiet place in the hotel in the days before, and the only place I could find was the basement of the hotel. So I thought I was brilliant. Like, I had it all set up. I had found a quiet space, and we were recording. For me, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. So I figured this will be fine. There won't be noise. Everyone will still be asleep. And sure enough, that part worked out really well. But one thing, and this is how I realized, I have really lost my New Yorker bearings. I used to be such a proud native New Yorker. Like, I knew everything about New York. Every time I go back now, I realize what a tourist I am now. My kids remind me, like, I am such a dumb tourist now. And sure enough, I hadn't thought about the mice aspect. Yeah, of course, you go into a basement of a New York hotel. What are you going to encounter in the dark at 5 o'clock in the morning? As I was recording with you guys, I was trying to be really cool, but a mouse crawled across my feet. I was sitting on how stupid, right? Well, there's not like a desk in this basement of the hotel. There was like the floor, and I had set up a little cushion and a little makeshift, I found some boxes for the computer, but I was essentially sitting on the floor. And a mouse scampered over my feet. And we were in the middle of like a heartfelt moment. So I think I did kind of let out a little yelp, but I was like, okay, just got to be cool. It's just a mouse. And and the moment came and went. And that's my memory of that episode.
I have to say, Angela, you played it very cool because I had no idea.
It was awful.
I'm shocked.
It and we were both very scared. The little
nicer considering the mouse as well. Was it a mouse or a rat?
Luckily, it was a mouse. Yeah, no, those New York rats.
Also.
Oh, they're huge. They're large rodents. of unusual size.
Herculean.
Yes. Yes. Anyway, sorry. Moving on. That was
It's
a total
great
tangent.
story.
Oh,
Great story.
Yeah. Well, it's my memory of that episode, which is not good, but so be it.
I have to say, and yeah, we can also cut this, but I think Switzerland has made both of us very soft.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Just we're so spoiled here.
I mean,
really
Switzerland
good.
is very clean. I remember walking around Geneva and I kept saying to Angela, oh my God, it's so clean. Oh my God, look at the water. Oh my God, look at the pavements. It's not like that in the UK either.
All right. Next up, Katie.
Yes, next up is episode 25, Measles. Another very topical episode. We very appropriately entitled it Measles is Back. The episode also addresses vaccine hesitancy, and it was a really good balance between the science and addressing public health as well. Because Kerrigan and
Natasha.
Yeah. And we were the hosts, Annie, right?
Yes.
It was you and me.
I thought they balanced each other really well.
They were so good.
They were really good.
They had a beautiful chemistry together,
Yes.
I remember. And I love that South African accent. To die for. And the cool English one too, Annie, of course. You know what? I made my Siri on my phone. I made my Siri have a South African accent after that.
We have to keep that in, Angela. That's so funny.
Yeah, maybe Kerrigan can't know this.
Anyway, sorry, Katie. You were trying to say the real reasons that you liked that episode.
I'm not sure if I can actually articulate it coherently, but I think because measles has returned, it's addressing many important topics, not just about the disease, but also about the general trend which societies and communities and countries are moving towards in a dangerous way, about vaccine hesitancy and misinformation spreading and losing faith in the science over rhetoric. And I think it's really scary times.
Yeah. I still think about some of the things Natasha said when we talked towards the end. I think about anti-vax sentiment and how do you fight this sentiment. And she said, basically, having a doctor's office that's well kept, that's clean, that inspires trust, that already is part of the work of combating this skepticism. Just having a place where you're making an effort for patients, where it's clear that you care about them. That's already the battle. And I think about that, these basic things, we're looking for these really sophisticated responses.
I really liked Kerrigan's insights about things she'd seen early on in her career, measles epidemics in orphanages and things like that. And it was just like, gosh, we're worried about measles being back in a setting where we've already achieved eradication status and now countries, Canada, US, might lose their eradication status. But most of the world hasn't got measles eradication. And it's just kind of bringing it back to that, what can happen if we lose that vaccination coverage.
Yeah, that was actually the second time we had Kerrigan on. She was on very early in the year to talk about some other viruses that are coming back. We have to hunt them down and make the two of them come back in 2026. There will be need. There'll be things to talk about, sadly.
Did you guys meet them like at ESMID Global? How did you come across these two speakers actually?
It's a really good question. Definitely Kerrigan from the first episode. I knew she had done a lot of measles work. I knew that I really wanted her, just given her experience both clinically and surveillance wise. She had really such interesting perspectives and experience. And then Natasha, so as now all our listeners will know, I have this inside connection to WHO because my husband works there. And I asked him who at WHO would be really the right person to talk about this, because Kerrigan had herself said, look, I'll give you the on the ground perspective. And then I thought, that should be complemented with a very global perspective. So what better place to go to than WHO? And so my husband luckily put me in touch with Natasha, whom I had never met. So she was very gracious to accept, and I hope to get to meet her in person one day. Yeah, and Kerrigan as well. I've never met her in person. She's almost in the same time zone as us, I think. Right? Just a little further south. Yeah.
That's a good point, though, Angela. We've had such great guests on, true, world experts in the field of what we want to talk about. And I'm sometimes just can't believe they just said, yes, they're going to come, they're going to have a chat. I'm like, hi, I'm Annie. But we have this great chat.
Oh my God.
They're just world experts, and they're just agreeing to give a couple of hours of their time to make the podcast. I think we've been so fortunate with that.
Yeah, it's amazing. And even in the beginning, we only started this mid 2024. And from the beginning, we were so lucky to get global experts. And I think they care. The people who are going to dedicate their lives to this kind of work, they're also the people who are going to care about giving their time. Yeah. And I have to say, not once, they always say, never meet your heroes. But I have to say, not once has it been unpleasant or a disappointment, let's just say. Not once. These people are all amazing in real life. Yeah, it's a nice thing that we get to say at the end of this year. All right, Katie, I think there are more to still cover.
Yes. The next one would be episode 37 on peer review. Again, Angela and Annie hosting.
She didn't know. She picked these without knowing that Annie was going to co-host. I'm sure this wasn't engineered or anything.
Absolutely. No, I think this topic is also really important to shed light on this invisible work, as we've discussed and as you guys discussed in the episode. Finding peer reviewers to do this important step in the publications process, really important. And someone who's been in academia and seen this submission publication process from the publishing side is also really interesting, because when I was doing the PhD, of course, you kind of submit to a black box and then you get some correspondence from a miscellaneous person from the journal saying, okay, you need this and this documents and blah, blah, blah. And then you follow the instructions, you submit, and then, the rest works itself out, right?
I mean, I still can't believe our guest said yes to that. Melinda Baldwin and Sergei Horbach, both outside of the field of medicine, and Melinda is like a historian by background and Sergei was kind of social science background, but both real experts in peer review, not just in medicine, but peer review as an entity within academia. Just made it really interesting dynamic to hear from like the whole history side, where it is now, where it's going in the future. And I thought it was quite nice as well to maybe remind listeners that Communicable is the podcast for CMI Communications. It's a journal-based podcast. And it gave us lots of ideas as well, didn't it, Angela? I think we had lots of thoughts after that of how we can improve the peer review process. And
we did.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and that episode was all thanks to Annie, it must be said. Annie found those guests. You really designed that episode.
Again, I can't believe they said yes. That was when I reached out on Blue Sky. I was just like, hi, you don't know me, but do you want to come on this episode? And they both said yes.
Yeah, that was very cool. Honestly, I thought that episode was fascinating. And sometimes I will admit, I feel kind of challenged because being the host and like handling the controls and actually being in the moment, like being in the discussion. So I remember it being a very cool discussion while we were having it. But then afterwards, when I got to listen to it, I was like, oh, wow, those are really good points. I got much more out of it later because sometimes your attention's kind of like, oh, got to do the echo cancellation or whatever. But I think that might be one of my favorites of the year, honestly.
It was a fun episode, and I think both of us at the start were like, we don't know how this is going to go, because I'd never actually spoken to either of them before, and I'm like, this is like a total unknown. It's not even about anything medical that we can fall back on our own knowledge. So I was like,
totally.
That one was a bit of a roll of the dice. That was that day as well, Angela, we'll cut all this out, but when I was like running between conferences across the middle of the city, I was in Birmingham, and I was like running between like speaking at something at one venue, and I was legging it across town, dragging my suitcase with me, trying to log on and get the internet started and everything, and I was like sweating. I sat down and I'm like trying to stay cool and get my script up, but that was the most stressful day for me. I just did that recording right in the middle of that day.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't cut this because maybe people should know like how crazy it is behind the scenes. The finished product, thanks to Katie, comes out sounding so cool, so still and calm, but the reality is kind of a mess sometimes. And thank goodness you guys are all there, because you guys have normal jobs, normal lives, and somehow you find the time to do this, which I think is really precious. Yeah.
Okay, what's your last pick then, Katie?
Episode 41, Diagnostic Stewardship.
Nice.
Yes. So one that both of you will also be familiar with as
wait,
the host.
These are almost all hosted
I know,
by me and
it looks or seems really rigged, but that's just what happened. You guys are picking the most interesting topics. Now you have
Wow.
to cut that. It's not nice to
I
the
know.
others. No, I picked diagnostic stewardship for different reasons. I thought first, obviously the panel had really great chemistry. You could tell that there was just a real comfort between everyone, and it came through.
There was such good chemistry because the two guests knew each other and they worked together, I think, on diagnostic stewardship and maybe even other things. So there was, I agree, you could feel that there was just good chemistry. They like each other, they respect each other.
Yeah. So it was also about sustainability, which is really important today. I thought this topic was really helpful just for people or practitioners to stop and think, and instead of just clicking and just being kind of routine, like think about what you're actually doing and stop and think, do you actually need this test? Just give yourself pause and reconsider something. So I thought that was really nice. And it was also about improving practice, because just doing more tests isn't correlated with better care, right? It's just maybe you feel like you're doing something, but maybe in the end it's actually meaningless. So just being mindful.
Yeah, for sure. I came away with loads of ideas from that episode, loads of ideas. And since then I went and I was like, right, we're going to go and do some good diagnostic stewardship in our lab. And in the process of doing something around therapeutic drug monitoring assays. And when I looked into it, I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe the amount of money we spend on this. It's like £100 a test, which might not sound too much, but when we're talking about high volume, it was nearly 100 grand a year we were sending on these like therapeutic drug monitoring assays. And a lot of them were taken at the wrong time, all these kind of things. And we're just dealing with the results going, oh, this result's meaningless, da, 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 da. So we're tackling that now. But I thought about that in the diagnostic stewardship episode.
Yeah, so many leads on that, right? I remember actually, so we have all these episodes peer reviewed, and then the peer reviewer of that episode was like, oh yeah, I would love to hear more about number 1, number 2, number 3, listed all these cool branches of thought from that episode. So yeah, we have lots of material that we need to cover next year. So Katie, those were the top 5, but you've got some shout outs apparently.
Yes. So of course, I went back into Transistor and I had to just look up what was the most popular episode or the most downloaded episode. And it was the SNAP trial. Ironically, I'm not involved in this one because I was on holidays, but I still want to give it a special shout out because Josh is one of our editors and Steve Tong, also a friend of the journal. And so I'm sure it was also a great dynamic group of people.
Steve Tong is now advisor. He's an official member of the journal's advisory board. So he does have a very special place at CMI Comms.
I want to also give a shout out to Predatory Publishing. I thought this topic was so fascinating. I learned a lot about the industry. Again, recalling from my PhD times, I was completely oblivious to such a lucrative industry that just wants to exploit young, early career researchers in any field, really, right? It exists basically in any academic research field.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
That one was hosted by you, Angela, and Mark Bonten. And the guests were also Leonard Lebovici and Ursula Hofer, right? 2 editors-in-chief of other infectious diseases, clinical microbiology journals.
I thought they were great. That was one of those episodes, though, where I felt like, oh, we're really good at laying out the problem here. But at the end, you're like, it's so complex and it's so hard and we're never going to be able to fix it. You feel like we were good at describing the problem, but not so great at solutions just yet.
I don't know, Angela. I think maybe some of these episodes, it's good to talk within our field. And I think perhaps some of the episodes that I've not been involved with, I've listened to and I've gone, God, I've never really thought about this before. And then I'll start to talk to people at work about it and I'll be like, oh, hey, have you thought about, this sustainability thing that we're doing? Have you thought about how much money we're wasting on this? It'll just start conversations. And I hope it does the same for listeners as well. If it's an area that they don't really know much about or it's a big issue, but they've not really engaged with it before, to be able to take those conversations back into their workplaces and with their own contacts, just to go, I've never really thought about this. It's a big problem. What do you think about it? And then maybe that's how the conversations start. We can't solve the problems, can we? We have to just maybe start the discussion.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great take. Yeah, we can't carry everything, right? And starting the discussion is good. It's okay to be at the beginning and not at the end solving everything. I like that. Any more shout outs, Katie?
Yes. Another shout out that I want to give is episodes on climate change. One in particular was the one Nav hosted solo. It could be one of the only ones where we had a solo host. This, by the way, was like one of the most logistically complicated episodes to bring Laura Jung. She's actually going to be a future fellow.
Yes.
She was a guest on Communicable. And Shreya
Doshi.
Discussing sustainability and climate change in the field of infectious diseases. That was a really cool episode, a bit related to diagnostic stewardship in some ways, because they talked about sustainability. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's also one of the ones that I think has really influenced me day to day on several levels. Now I really think carefully about literally the plastic involved of asking for an extra blood draw, all the waste, material waste. And now, thanks to that episode, I insist on any clinical trial I do, environmental outcomes have to be part of it. It's not easy because actually, what's the metric? How do you measure? How reliable are these measurements going to be? But there are people working on this, creating consensus metrics for measuring the environmental cost of different medical practices. And I was not thinking about stuff like that at all. So it was very inspiring.
We definitely haven't got the answer to climate change, have we? Communicable. That's definitely one where the problem was discussed.
No.
But it planted a seed and it's changed your practice. So hopefully it's done that for other people as well.
Yeah, fair enough, Annie. No, good point. I hope so.
Okay, last one. But then I also want to share a surprise because I think Mark Bonten deserves it. But anyways, okay, so the last episode that I want to give a shout out from 2024 was episode 9 on avian flu. It was hosted by you, Angela, and Nav.
Oh yeah, the episode with Ron Fouché.
Exactly. About this episode, again, discussing the problem, no real solution yet, but just bringing awareness and having you think about your place and your position in this context. And he talked a lot about water birds. And I live in Zurich. We have the lake there. And I'm just looking at these geese and I'm like, oh my God. Like,
oh yeah, they're all infected.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. And they're breeding grounds for
exactly.
new viral mutants. Yeah.
All these tourists just giving the bread, so much bread, so many geese. And I will never look at swans, geese the same, I have to say. But
oh my God.
Really topical, really great. Just also there was great discussion, I thought. The dialogue was really nice. It was just one guest format, but I think he did well. I thought he addressed the science. He also addressed the public health issues and the shortcomings about the policy, the mandates that are not there.
Yeah. I'm so sorry, though, that Communicable has now totally ruined Lake Zurich for you. Like, now you can't experience it in that same innocent way ever again. I remember being absolutely shocked. I was so naive. I remember being shocked when he said, yeah, there's virus in the milk of the cows. And I was like, oh, yeah, but when they know the cow's infected, they take that milk and they throw it away. And he's like, no, they don't. It goes to market. I remember being shocked by that one. And so, Katie, any surprises while you were editing these episodes?
Yes. I guess the one surprise that I want to share is giving a shout out to Mark Bonten, who I just find absolutely hilarious.
Should I let our listeners know that Mark is kind of our bad boy editor? Not editor, no. He's an excellent editor. He's kind of our bad boy host, shall I say.
He is just so unpredictable. I don't know what's going to come out next when his line is up. I think he ad-libs all the time, and it's great. He can think on his feet so fast. And when he was on this Twitter episode, and he came up with a great potential title, the sequela of a tweet. It was like, wow. Wow, yeah. Mark, that's a good one.
And he's doing it in a language that is not his mother tongue.
I also think he's full of zingers. Like, he is often self-deprecating. I hope it's also not because now I've met him and I know him a bit better. I think it's still translated through the podcast. Yeah. But sometimes we have to censor his comments. We try to keep the appropriate ones, the ones that are estimate safe.
Yeah, he's very honest, very raw. Mark is going to be listening to this and hopefully laughing with us. We struggled with his sound. He had the worst microphone, or he just didn't have a microphone for a while. That was the big surprise for me of 2025, that Mark now has a real microphone. We had to be a little heavy-handed there and be a little paternalistic. We forced him to get a good microphone.
Oh, bioethics. Sorry. Bioethics, I thought, was also very important. So these topics that don't often get first priority, don't have the spotlight too often, I think it's really nice that Communicable is giving them a stage and bring in experts that can really discuss and explain it to a broad audience. I think is really important.
Oh, I'm so glad. It's true that we don't actually get to talk together always about these episodes. It's really nice that we get to do a sort of debriefing at the end of the year.
Cool. Thanks, Katie. It was great to hear your top picks of 2025, but also some of 2024 as well. I've loved being on the podcast this year, loved hosting. And Katie, all your hard work behind the scenes is so appreciated. And I don't think Communicable would be what it is at all without Katie's hard work. So yeah, a big happy holidays. And thank you so much, Katie, for all that she does in the background.
Thank you so much, Katie. Without Katie, we would not have Communicable. I think it's fair to say there is no way we could keep up, as people probably know, because I think our listeners are very much who we are, right? These are people who all have day jobs and have so much other stuff to do, people waiting for them to get things done. And yet we managed to produce this stuff thanks to Katie. Without Katie, there is no way we could keep up this pace and keep up the interesting episodes. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's really my pleasure to edit these episodes. I'm also learning, right? And it's really great program you guys have organized for the year and next year, I might add. So looking forward also to next year as well.
Thank you so much. Annie, I could say the same for you. The editor, I mean, you guys are giving so much of your free time and it's just amazing. I feel like there is something really, okay, this is going to sound really cheesy, but there's something kind of sacred about this. People coming and saying, okay, I'm just going to give this for free because I believe in this. I believe that we should meet in this place, whether it's a paper journal or a podcast, but I believe we should meet and we should share and learn and give our time for free. We get nothing back necessarily, except that we're contributing to something that's very collective. So now for the final part of this episode. I'd ask the editors to send in some recordings. I'd ask them to answer 2 questions. The first was along the lines of what was something or someone or some place that surprised you in 2025? And the second was, what do you look forward to in 2026, whether CMI Comms related or not? Some of the editors don't identify themselves, so I've put them in alphabetical order. Mark Monten, Josh Davis, Annie Joseph, Aaron McCreary, Emily McDonald, Josh Nusanchuk, and Thomas Tangdon. You'll also hear from 2 new editorial fellows, Victor Dale and Reka Pai. Katie rounds up the editors with her message, and finally you'll hear a voice you may not know. It's Josera Paño Pardo, our Publications and Guidelines Counselor within ESCMID's Executive Committee. Although he, like Katie, is often unseen, Josera is a source of critical support and guidance for our journal and our podcast. And in putting these together at this time of year, I got a little sentimental and played around a little with some slightly cheesy music layered into some of the messages. I couldn't resist.
Under Pressure from David Bowie and Queen, recorded in 1981, was for me the song of 2025. Under pressure is where our scientific values have become and are increasingly going to. For 2026, therefore, our recipe should be better science and better communication. And that's why I'm looking forward to next episodes of Communicable and the CMI Comms. All the best wishes for 2026.
Hi everybody, it's Josh Davis here, one of the editors on CMI Communications. I want to start by saying thanks for listening to Communicable over the past year. I hope you found it enjoyable and educational as much as I have to listen to. For me, it's all of the above, but also summer. I know that's not the case for a lot of you guys, but today it's a beautiful beach day. I'm watching the cricket, having an ice block. That's what this time of year means to me. So, in terms of something that surprised me this year, I couldn't narrow it down to one thing. A couple of things that spring to mind. I went to Turkey earlier this year for a conference and had a few days spare afterwards. And I went and visited Ephesus, which is a ruin of an ancient Greek and then ancient Roman city. And it's just amazingly well-preserved, interesting and large ruined city, which rivals anything I've seen in Rome or Greece or Italy. So that was a surprise and a pleasant one. Secondly, I surprised myself because I ran my first ever marathon in August, the Sydney Marathon. And for many years I thought, I never would be able to do a marathon, but I decided to try it and I did. So that's a little motivational message for everybody. You can do things you thought you couldn't do. And then finally, surprise is one of the best novels I read this year was called Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. I wasn't expecting much from it, and in fact the first 1/3 of the book was not super interesting, but it just got better and better, and it really left an impression on me, so I'd recommend you read it. Finally, the second topic, what am I looking forward to next year? Well, a lot of things. Of course, ESCMID Global in Munich. Hopefully I'll have a beer in one of those big German glasses. But also we're putting together a course on clinical trials for people in the field of ID and microbiology who want to get more involved in designing and running clinical trials, and that's going to be held in Malta in November next year. So I'm looking forward to that, and please keep an eye out for it. And then finally, I'm doing a 4-day bushwalk around the coast in Tasmania next year with my wife for our wedding anniversary, so I'm very much looking forward to that. So thank you for listening, everybody, and hope you all have a great 2026. Thank you.
Hi everyone, it's Annie Joseph here in Nottingham in the UK. I joined the CMI Comms editorial team in March of 2025, so it has been a busy year for me of learning how everything works with the journal and the podcast, ironing out all of those technical difficulties with mics and headphones and recordings, and sometimes it has been a bit nerve-wracking, I won't lie, but also a lot of fun. There have been 2 things about this experience that have really pleasantly surprised me. With the journal, it's been the dedication of the peer reviewers that I've had the pleasure of working with, those professionals who are prepared to lend their expertise and opinion to improve the work of others. And I think they really are the unsung heroes of academia. And with the podcast, it's been without a doubt getting to meet so many true experts in the field of ID and micro, who are willing to share their knowledge and experience, but most of all their passion through Communicable. And I've learned so much this year from hosting. Something I'm looking forward to in 2026 is, of course, ESCMID Global Conference in Munich. But particularly, I want to try and meet in person as many of the CMI Comms authors, reviewers, and Communicable podcast guests. Perhaps maybe we can share a few beers, some of those big German pretzels, and hopefully continue to build the CMI Comms community together.
Hey everyone, and hey to our loyal listeners. I can't believe we're wrapping up another year at Communicable. It continues to be such an honor to be a part of this editorial board and this podcast. Something or some place that pleasantly surprised me in 2025, I'll have to say my first one is personal, which I think I've talked about on the pod before, but I checked something off my bucket list in a big way in 2025, and that is I saw a concert at Red Rocks out in Colorado. For the audiophiles and the music lovers out there, it is a concert venue unlike any other. The acoustics, the stars, the sky, the mountains, it's just truly unbelievable. So that was just everything I hoped it would be and more. And I hope all of you have a fulfilling experience like that in all your years to come, because it was really just transcendent. And something I'm looking forward to in 2026, I'll go the science angle for this, and maybe this is a little cheesy, but I really think we have the best editorial board ever under Angela's leadership and just working with this team. And I can't wait to continue to grow this journal with Nav, Josh, Emily, Thomas, Annie, Josh, Mark, Hosera, Katie, and everyone. I mean, it's just the best committee of people, and we're growing, and we look forward to your continued submissions. I look forward to reading all the amazing work you're doing around the world and continuing to build this family.
Hi everyone, season's greetings. It's Emily McDonald here, and I hope everyone had a great year. Something that pleasantly surprised me this year was how well the journal has taken off and how well Communicable is going. I'm really excited for next year when we're going to roll out some new types of episodes that do a little bit of the evidence summary and keep you up to date quarterly on the latest publications out there in the infectious disease world. And I'm really excited to welcome our new editorial fellows. I think that's going to be so much fun to work together. So thanks everyone for listening, and see you next year.
Hi, Angela. This is for Katie's Picks. First, what is something or someone or someplace that surprised you in 2025? I would answer that I had the opportunity to spend a week in Asunción, Paraguay, where I met with many clinical microbiologists and infectious disease physicians. And one thing that really struck me was that they diagnose about 300 new patients a year with leprosy. I didn't know there were 300 people a year that were getting diagnosed with leprosy globally. And it just goes to show what we don't know and why we need to have more international activities so we can be aware of these things and we can put better programs together to address them in a global and thoughtful way. That ties into what do I look forward to in 2026. One of the things that I'm really excited about is the launch of a new collaboration with my friend at Einstein, Lizan Perovsky, and colleagues in Rio and Curitiba to look at some novel biology of Cryptococcus neoformans, which is one of the WHO fungal priority pathogen list pathogens, and it's actually the number one on that list. And again, collaborative and global opportunities to address these critical threats are really a strong way to move forward. So I'm looking forward to that with great enthusiasm.
Hi, this is Thomas. I just wanted to thank everyone who helped developing CMI Communications, including my co-editors, reviewers, authors, and podcast guests. It's a true privilege to work together with all of you. For next year, I hope to learn about groundbreaking discoveries in R&D of new antibiotics and rapid diagnostic tools that will help in the management of multi-drug resistant infections.
Hello everyone, this is Victor Dahl from Aarhus, Denmark here. So what am I looking forward to in 2026? Well, as I look ahead, there are many things I'm excited about. To begin with, I'll be starting the year on a high note with a skiing holiday with my family. And it's always a wonderful way to recharge and spend quality time together and enjoy being outdoors. Professionally, I'm very much looking forward to getting acquainted with the CMI Communications team and gaining a deeper understanding of the entire editorial process from A to Z. Being involved in research from the author side is one thing, but seeing what truly happens behind the scenes, how high-quality science is shaped and refined and safeguarded, is something I find interesting and inspiring. I'm also excited for ECMID Global. It's a highlight every year. Yet this year, connecting with the editorial team, but also joining inspiring sessions, learning from colleagues across the world, and meeting many wonderful people who share the same passion for infectious diseases and microbiology. And last, but definitely not least, I'm looking forward to some month of paternity leave in the spring with our third daughter. I can't wait for the slower days filled with play, hopefully some warm coffee, long walks, and maybe even a bit of reading if she allows me.
Hi everyone, I'm Rekha Pai, originally from Mangaluru, India, now living in Melbourne, Australia. I will be joining the CMI Comms team as editorial fellow in January 2026, and I'm super excited about this. Things I'm looking forward to in 2026. As a CMI Comms editorial fellow, I'm looking forward to meeting the CMI Comms team, getting to know and work with the other editorial fellows, learning editorial processes, and how to podcast. I'm also looking forward to reading more literature, medical and non-medical, and scrolling a lot less. I'm excited for 2026, to new opportunities, new connections and collaborations. Have a wonderful holiday season and see you in the new year.
Hi, Angela. Here's my soundbite. This task is so much harder than I expected. I really hope the quality of my sound is okay. So here we go. Hey, everyone. It's Katie. I'm the editorial manager at CMI Comms. A highlight for me of 2025 would definitely be our editors meeting that we held in Rome in September. I didn't expect an in-person meeting to be so impactful, but it was really great. I got to know all the editors a little bit better. We had quality time, not just to learn more about each other, but also to discuss the vision that we have for the journal and for the podcast. So I was really grateful to be present. In 2026, I'm really excited to just build on what we have done already in 2025. We have a lot of exciting new projects and article series and podcast episodes coming your way. So really excited to see how everything evolves next year. Wishing everyone good health and be well in the new year.
This is Hostettler. I'm writing you, well, this is not writing, to tell you my couple things. what surprised me in 2025, it was my family trip to Austria this summer. I had never been before to the Austrian Tyrol, and the landscapes, the lakes, the mountains, for me, it was really beautiful. And enjoying the time with the family, that made it really very special. And another thing that pleasantly surprised me, because elections are always out of someone's control, is that I got re-elected to SMIT Executive Committee, which I'm very happy, very proud of. And what I look forward for 2026, waters are very troubled everywhere, different parts of the world, and that affects how we approach, not just as a society, but as a species, as a world, infectious diseases. I hope that we from SMIT, whether from guidelines, publications, educations, we can contribute to foster cooperation, because really I believe that cooperation is the key ingredient to approach such complex problems. And that's it, Angela. Thank you very much. I'm personally very proud of how the journal is doing, and we have another powerful arm just for science and communication, and that's something that makes me proud. Bye.
Finally, my answers to those questions? Well, there were many things that surprised me in 2025, unfortunately not always pleasantly. But on the pleasant side, it was hands down the chemistry among these editors. Katie mentioned our meeting in Rome, and we had Vienna before that, ESCMID Global of 2025. It's just beautiful seeing how they interact, how they support each other, and how they work off of each other. And the other great surprise was how many of our expert colleagues gave their time to provide really good peer reviews. The value of these very real, very thoughtful peer reviews became starkly apparent last week when we came face to face with what could be an essentially dystopian academic future if we're not careful. I'll write about that experience in an upcoming editorial, which will hopefully be online soon. For now, what I wish for 2026 is that we work harder at fixing our flawed publishing system. The people who participate as reviewers and editors, for the sake of science, of medicine, of that sacred meeting I was going on about with Katie and Annie, that these people can be properly honored and supported, and that no one can take advantage of their good work or benefit improperly from it. So here's to 2026. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your support and for your ideas. Please keep them coming. If you get the chance to be in Munich this year for ESCMID Global, please come to the journal's happy hour organized by ESCMID. It's usually on this Sunday afternoon. Please come and say hi, because we would love to meet you. If you're a CMI Comms reviewer or author, or even simply a communicable listener, we will certainly raise a glass to you.